Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the webinar. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Brandis, and I am with the Colorado Small Business Development Center Network's SBDC TechSource Commercialization Program. I'd like to welcome you all today to Department of Defense, USSOCOM, SBIR, STTR, and SOFWERX programs. Very briefly, I'd like to introduce you to our state's TechSource Commercialization Program. This program is designed to support science and technology ventures throughout Colorado. Businesses are pre-startup through advanced second stage. So if you have an innovative technology, you're likely a fit for the program, regardless of your stage of business. SBDC TechSource Commercialization focuses especially on sources of non-dilutive capital where there's no equity given, technology commercialization, and SBIR or STTR grants. You'll also hear them referred to as SBIR and STTR grants. We'll also cover R&D tax credits, R&D or government accounting, IP protection, access to capital, and market research. We provide customized expert consulting at no cost to you, as well as relevant workshops, events, and accelerator programs. A new program we've added is Red Team Review, which provides professional guidance and a final review of a company's SBIR or STTR proposal prior to submitting it to the participating federal agency. We did just open applications for the DoD round this year, so you might be qualified for that. I encourage you to check it out. And then our final round this year will be focusing on the Department of Energy. After this webinar, if you're interested in meeting one-on-one with an SBDC TechSource specialist, attending events, workshops, or webinars, or learning more about our Red Team Review program, please visit our website, which is sbdc-techsource.org to get started. These resources are available thanks to support from SBA's FAST program, VISA, the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, and the City of Boulder. Just a few quick things. If you're located outside the state of Colorado, we encourage you to check out your local SBDC and resources for your individual state, because we do focus on Colorado. Today's webinar is being recorded. You'll receive an email following the presentation with a link to the recording. You'll also receive a copy of today's presentation slides. A few housekeeping things. Everyone is on mute. If you do have questions, please type them into the chat bar, and we will leave time for Q&A at the end of today's session. I'd now like to introduce you to today's webinar presenters, Mina Khalil and Leslie Babich. Mina Khalil is the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Program Manager at the United States Special Operations Command. Leslie Babich joined the SOFWERX team to lead SOFWERX in Tampa, Florida in October 2020. As the director of SOFWERX, Leslie provides operational and personnel oversight while developing and implementing business plans that optimize results for its government partner, the United States Special Operations Command, or USSOCOM. Now I will turn it over to Mina and Leslie. Thank you so much for presenting today.
All right, thank you for having us. Let's start by putting our presentation up. All right, how do you see that?
Looks great.
All right, so good morning. I think it's still morning up there. And thank you for having me. My name is Mina Khalil. I am the SOCOM SBIR STTR program manager. And I usually would ask, hey, how many of you are familiar with the SBIR STTR process program, or programs, I should say. And because we're doing it virtually, so I asked that up front. I believe some of you do, some of you don't. So I'll go through it briefly and talk about the SBIR STTR program as a whole. So why would you want to use the SBIR STTR programs? Why would you want to get or receive an award using the SBIR STTR programs? It's a seed fund for small businesses. So think of Qualcomm. Qualcomm started in the 1980s, and it was a recipient of SBIR, and that got them to where they are now. It was a seed fund for them. Same thing happened with the Sonicare toothbrush, and the same with 23andMe and several others that were recipient of the SBIR STTR funds and through that they received successes that they have now. You get to work directly with our acquisition or acquiring offices, especially here in SOCOM. We tend to get all of our topics right out of the technical or the program office themselves. So as you receive those topics, you get that phase 1 or phase 2 award, then you're building directly to our requirements. And that kind of goes with a lot of the other US government agencies or DoD, Department of Defense components. Just some do it different than the others, depending on the way they do business. You keep your intellectual property and data rights, and that's a big thing. That's an important piece of your effort, because you get to do any kind of a dual use. If you want to commercialize it, and if you want to find a way of doing this outside of the government, you are more than welcome to do so. In fact, SBIR STTR program encourages you to do that, to make sure that you're building your program or your company to become relevant in the world market. It is a gateway to government contracting. You start with the phase 1, it's small amount, and we have different ways of doing this. And you don't have the cost accounting systems and everything that the government requires, but then you start building yourself up to that before you get to a phase 2. And eventually you receive as you success in your prototyping, you receive a phase 3. That's your commercialization. We'll talk about that later. Then you're getting directed awards, because you don't have to go through a source selection again. You've already done so in getting that phase 1 and or the phase 2. You focus on the transition, and we talked about that. The transition is the key thing. Once you have for you to get a phase 3 or the transition into the operational field, into the US market, then you become successful and you've grown as a small business. And then finally, you're providing the leading edge technology in the world market, and that keeps us growing. It keeps us innovating. So let's talk a bit about a background of the SBIR STTR. As Jamie mentioned, SBIR for Small Business Innovation Research, and STTR is for Small Business Technology Transfer. It's about a $5 billion program, and it's growing. About 40% or so of that money comes out of Department of Defense. So it says here about $2 billion. I think it has increased to about $3 billion at this point from FY20 over the past 3 years. All of this information is available for you in the on SBIR.gov. Please open that website, explore it, look at the opportunities, look what they have to offer. It's $5 billion per year is a substantial amount of funding that you can use some of it to grow your small business. And not only that, there are other opportunities outside of it. And not only that, you can get that directed award that I mentioned. All right, so the mission, this is right out of the SBIR.gov, is to grow your small business, is to make you relevant in the world market. It's to foster and encourage your participation. It's really for you as an American small business to grow. STTR, I just want to hit on that one a little bit, and I'll hit on it again later. This requires a partnership with a non-for-profit research institution that includes academia, includes FFRDC, it includes USSOCOM, includes non-for-profit labs, etc. All right, so as I mentioned, SBIR STTRs are 3 phases. You have the phase 1, that's a feasibility study. For the most part, what we expect out of it is a report. And a report is really for lower technology readiness level, as in something that is still a thought, it's still a research, and we fund you to say, hey, we need this kind of a technology for our operator, for our warfighters. And you write down how you're going to approach it, and you do that study. It's about 6 to 7 months, generally speaking. For us in SOCOM, it's 7 months, but the feasibility study or the report, the final report ends at month number 6. And then after that, we take it to the proof of concept, which is the prototyping stage. And we get that up to the technology readiness level of 7. If you're not familiar with TRLs, please just Google search it and you'll find it. NASA has a good, or Defense Acquisition University has a good understanding of each TRL, what it stands for. But TRL 7 is kind of the, you know, the thumb mark there of where we want it to be. And we work with you closely to make sure that we get it to a good position to get it to the commercialization. And that's where, again, you are successful in fielding your technology. Next slide. I'll leave the questions for later, as Jamie said. All right, so DoD, Department of Defense, has something called the Broad Agency Announcement, and that's a timeline of the topics that they announce. Those are all announced on the DSIP or DSIP site. It's www.sbir.sttr.mil. If you don't have a profile there, please go in there, initiate one, build your company profile. That's going to take the majority of the bulk of your time to get things going. And then you can search every single one of our Department of Defense opportunities. That's beyond SOCOM. So SOCOM is smaller, but then you have Air Force, Army, Navy, DARPA, MDA, and the rest of the 14 components. There are 3 main timelines in the year, which is the .1A, .2B, 3C, and 1 stands for SBIR, letter stands for STTR. If you want to find out more about the instructions of what they're looking for, go to, it's another website. I understand it's a little bit frustrating why we have 2, but it's www.defense.sbir.sttr.mil instead of DoD Defense. And it will provide you more information on the instructions. Finally, we have the .4 cycle, or D, if it's STTR, and that's kind of name your timeline. So how would you know, many of us kind of participate in that one because we get to define the start and end date, and we don't have to wait for the dates because we want things urgently. Some components in DoD actually use it exclusively, such as DARPA. They don't do, for the most part, the 1, 2, and 3. They just do 4. How would you find out about it? There is a mailing list for that website, the DSIP. You get to see it at the bottom right, and you sign up for it. It's all opportunities. You get to see what each component is presenting and any sessions, anything that you want to, if you want to learn more about the SBIRs, STTRs for DoD. Next slide. It's not working. Just clicking. All right. So differences between SBIR and STTR. Usually those designations come from the component or the agency out, say, hey, we're looking for these STTRs or these SBIRs. The difference here is that the funding is a lot less for STTR, but it's much underutilized. And like I said, your partnership, you need to have a certain percentage at a minimum for STTRs. That's 30% as a minimum and 60% maximum to utilizing these research institutions. And any of the universities, they all want to participate in that because they collaborate with you. When it comes to intellectual properties, data rights, that is really up to you and your negotiation with the university on how to do it. Don't limit yourself to 1 or 2 universities. See what's out there and who does what best based on the technology that you pursue or that you innovate, or your niche technology, if you will. Aside from that, the primary investigator is another one that I get a lot of questions on. It could be for SOCOM, it could be primarily employed with the research institution or the small businesses. Some components and some agencies do require it to be with the small business exclusively. So kind of keep that in mind as you look through all the other agencies or within a DoD component. All right, let's talk SOCOM specific. How am I doing on time? Good. All right. So SOCOM is, so every DoD component, every agency does things differently. SOCOM also does things very different. So let's talk about our structure first. We do about 60 to 75 SBIRs, STTRs per year. And we've been growing. I think we started off in 2019, it was about less than 40. Now we're up to 75. We do SBIRs and STTRs topic specific. That's the traditional one. And we get those topics from our program offices directly. And we also do STTRs and SBIRs open topic. That's a typo right there. It's SBIR and STTR open topics. In fact, I have one out right now. It's SOCOM 234-P002. That's our current open topic for family of special operations vehicles. I encourage you to go to the DSUP site that I mentioned earlier and explore that site and see what we have to offer, what we're looking for, so you guys can propose to our requirements. Again, we focus on our technology interest area, and that makes us unique because it improves our transition. We're bridging that valley of death from the perspective of connecting you with the program office up front, and you're working with them from the point of award all the way to the end. And from there, if everything is well, they can do that directed award to a phase 3 or the whatever contract vehicle that they want to use to get you guys get your system in the warfighters' hands. We do, and that makes us leading in the phase 3 transition. Also, we lead in timeliness awards, so we're very quick in getting our awards done compared to the rest of the U.S. government. We participate in all 4 BAAs. We do utilize the 3 different ways of contracting. We have our own. I have my own contract officers that I work with on a regular basis, and we do utilize other government contract officers, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, whichever, and that really depends on the program and what we're looking for. And then finally, we work with SOFWERX. So I'm here in SOFWERX today. It was an opportunity that I was here today, so we decided to sit in the same office and talk to you all about it. And SOFWERX is through a partner intermediary agreement as SOCOM's partner intermediary, and we have this unique legislative pilot that I would like to talk to you about. Let me see if I can go to the next slide. So initially, we had this problem of non-traditional small businesses, the small ones, the very, very small ones that say, it's too hard to work with the U.S. government. There's too many rules in contracting. We cannot operate in that environment with the initial limited funds and the time it takes, etc. So the S&T, the SOCOM S&T director, Ms. Lisa Sanders, she put in and for a legislative pilot, and say in the national defense in the NDAA, I forget the acronym, National Defense something Act, Authorization Act, thank you. And it was approved initially for a small amount, and it became so successful that we increased it. We were able to get an extension and an expansion authorization to increase it by 1,000%. Right now it's the FY 2022 NDAA section at 852. Make sure you look it up if you want to read more about it. It gave us an increase of 200 relevant proposals in the past few years. There's an average of 73% decrease in award time over the years. We usually get from proposal to award in 30 days when we use this business-to-business agreement through SOFWERX. We've decreased the phase 1 to the awards, phase 1 award to prototype by half, and that's significant. In fact, we've gotten down from a phase 1 to a phase 2 in 0 days. Usually that will take months to sometimes years to get from a phase 1 completion to a phase 2 contract. But right now, at the end of your phase 1, you'll be proposing for a phase 2. We'll do evaluation, we'll send it over, and we got it down to 0 days. We have a couple of success stories right now, which is we got it from a phase 1 to a phase 3 in 17 months, and another one from a phase 2 that was an Air Force topic that we asked for permission, and they gave it to us, and we awarded a phase 2 to that one. We got it to a phase 3 in 11 months. And speaking of success stories, one of them is a veteran-owned small business that received a phase, as I mentioned, a phase 3 in 17 months or less, or 17 months. And how that went about is they competed in the initial one. There were 1 out of 3 awardees for phase 1. As they progressed through, they proposed their phase 2, and them and another one was awarded a phase 2, and they continue to progress and provide solid solution to meet our requirements. And that one got now about a $49 million ceiling IDIQ. That's significant. Think about what your small business can do with that speed of award for a company that never received any government contract before. All right, so let's talk about what SOCOM needs. What are we looking for? If you look in this picture, very inclusive, you'll see all of the technologies that we're looking for from undersea to space. So obviously there's a very, very inclusive picture, and I get some laughs every time I post this to everything that's within. So I'll jump to separating them out a little bit. So in this slide, you have both the physical and the digital aspects. They are not separated, rather they complete each other. The focus is on our operators. So starting from the center, then from your 6 o'clock going clockwise, we receive requirements for the operator, the K9, and that ranges from weaponry, mounts, human performance, comms, and more, dry submersibles, undersea technology, combat divers, ship technology, vehicular technology that ranges from the tire to the comms and everything in between, aircraft ranging from weaponry to communication, satellite payloads, leveraging commercial solutions and new technology innovations, communications and more communications, that goes on every one of those things on the physical sides, data and data analysis tools, artificial intelligence, machine learning, mapping, simulation, pre-planning tools, and all of that needs to be protected, so therefore cybersecurity. All right, so from here, let's look at how SOCOM goes about in getting from a topic all the way to an award. We start off with the market research. We want to see what's out there, who can do what, and based on the market research, we decide whether it's going to be a phase 1 or a direct to phase 2. And direct to phase 2 doesn't mean direct to a company. It means that we're bypassing phase 1, knowing that there are so many companies out there right now, small businesses, that have done the work for that feasibility study and can start prototyping right away. So it's still a full and open competition. And then in a phase 1, we usually award, again, all of this is authored by the technical POC. Then we do, it's up to 210K, but for SBIRs, it's 175K. For STTRs, it's 210K. The reason why is because some academia do charge a little bit more funds, so it limits you from doing what you need to do. So we give you the extra funding to incentivize your ability to do that work. It's up to 7 months, but your report is going to be at 6 months period, proposal at 6.5 months. You get some time in between and before your proposal time to ask for the prototype requirements. And then we get the award starting to award from the 7 months on. It is multiple awards per topic. On average is about 3, but it really depends on if we have more than 3, that's solid proposals. We will not say no to that. We've done that several times. And then from there, we determine what we're going to do on phase 2. Phase 2 is we utilize 3 different avenues. The follow-on phase 2 from the phase 1. We do the direct to phase 2, and then sequential phase 2. Sequential phase 2 is if you have any topics that came from any US government SBIR office, and we just ask permission, hey, can we have that? Can we use your allotments? Because every company is allotted 2 phase 2 awards per topic. And if they say yes, which generally they do, then we start doing it as our SOCOM topic at this point with the same topic number. So if it's USDA, whatever, then we just use the same thing. And we do a directed award from there. It's to you, to your company directly, and then we start producing. And then if needed, and we need to do a second phase 2, that's on exceptions, like, hey, this technology cannot be moved forward unless we do a second one, then we do so. And those are exceptions, not the rule. And then finally, we focus on our phase 3. We do focus on that through something called and only SOCOM does that, I believe, a transition agreement where the S&T director and the program executive office or the funding component agree on here's how we're going to take this phase 1 or phase 2 after development all the way to the phase 3 and what we're going to do in between. It's kind of like a mini acquisition plan, acquisition strategy that's signed by an SCS to make sure that we're actually pursuing a technology that is required. Next slide. All right, I kind of covered most of that here. So what you need to know is your proposals, 5-page proposals, 15-slide presentation, and a cost proposal at a minimum. So there's other requirements in there and you have to take care of those. For your direct to phase 2, you are required to submit the feasibility study. If you do not, you are required, the proposal is considered non-responsive and we cannot even do the technical evaluation. Feasibility studies by law, that's the congressional mandate for us to do so. And the cost is depending on an effort. On average, we do about $1.3 million per phase 2. But again, there are exceptions. All right, so how do you reach us? This is a very important slide, I believe, to answer a lot of your questions. For BAAs, multiple avenues here. First, we talked about the DoD TSIP email announcements. Please sign up to that listserv. And then SOFWERX also post every one of my SBIRs, STTRs. So if you sign up to their ecosystem, you'll get these focused emails to you, and those are all opportunities as well. Finally, you have the SOCOM SBIR webpage. It's limited to just basic information, and it has some documents that you need, ancillary documents for you to propose, such as deliverable requirements and statement of objectives if it is part of the directive phase 2, etc. Right now, I have an STTR, an open topic out that I mentioned. I have an STTR out there for your viewing to be open for proposal soon. I have 2 phase 1 SBIRs and I have a directive phase 2 SBIR. So if you go to DSIP and you type under the topics and topic Q&A and you type SOCOM, you'll see all of those pop up. And within each one of the topics, it will direct you, because I wanted to link you guys up with the topic instructions, to the defense SBIR STTR.mil, where it has all the instructions. I'll list those in my final slides. 30 seconds, okay. So for the sequential phase 2, you already have something done. Please go to SOCOM.mil. It's called ESOF, submit your idea. So doing business with SOCOM, then submit your idea. You can submit your idea there, and then it will go directly to our SMEs for them to evaluate and see if they want to pursue a presentation with you. Soft Week is a great opportunity. This is coming up in 11 days. Don't miss out. SOCOM SBIR will have 3 different sessions. I'm bringing 9 different they're coming, right? 9 different DoD components are coming in to present and to answer all your questions in our SBIR booth, which is going to be right next to SOFWERX, and it's going to be next to the Office of Small Business Programs and others. So great chance, if you can afford, then you can come out there, and if the SBDC can help at all in bringing you up there, you're going to listen. You will listen from the program executive offices themselves on what the requirements or what they need. So you get to engage with the program office and say, hey, I can do I have a SBIR on this, or maybe this could be a SBIR that they can, if too many companies are approaching it, etc. Or they can find a completely, if SOCOM wants it, they'll find a way to get the technology. Tech Tuesdays, I'll let SOFWERX do my time. I took more time than I'm supposed to, so I'll let SOFWERX talk to it. Technical experimentation, if you have something already developed, you can go to that TE event, which happens 3 times a year, and you can go to the location and present it to the SMEs, to the program offices, to the operators themselves, and they get to play with it and give you feedback, and also they can say we need it. So I would definitely submit if you can. I'll skip on this because of time, but please ask questions, the Q&A, as early as you can. I put kind of a snapshot from the DSIP tool, the SIP. Propose early. I get a lot of, hey, power went out before I submit it on the last minute. This is hard. You're supposed to propose early, and those are the ones that usually are more successful anyway. If we do the analysis of companies proposed versus companies selected because of the quality of your proposal. And then again, the TSIP listserv is at the bottom right box there on that website. That said, here are the websites I discussed. I'm sure those will be sent out, and I look forward to questions if time permits.
Okay, so our plan is I will go through my briefing and then we'll address all the questions at the end of this session. So I will start with my presentation.
We show all windows maybe. Exit out of. You want to exit out of presentation mode first. Yeah. Or you sharing it? Yeah. Can I drive?
Yeah. Might be behind that.
What's your slide?
X yours out. Let's try that.
Well, no, if I do that, I might stop everything. So.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're getting it pulled up. Okay. Okay. All right. So thanks, Mina, for a great presentation on SBIR. I'm going to transition very quickly to the SOFWERX 101. So SOFWERX was established in 2015, and our whole goal is to be that low barrier of entry for small non-traditional businesses to be able to engage with SOCOM and share their technologies. The way we do this is that we have a location that's off base, right? So we're located in Tampa, not on MacDill Air Force Base, so you don't have to actually get onto a secure base and or into a secure facility. So we try and make engagement as easy as possible between you guys and the government stakeholders. Second, everything that we do in support of SOCOM is unclassified. So we believe if you classify something up front, you're going to eliminate probably 50% of the solutions providers, because we know a lot of you that have great technologies don't necessarily have clearances. So we want to make it as easy as possible, again, for you to be able to share your technology with SOCOM stakeholders. And really the third thing that we can do to make it easy is we set up commercial agreements between the companies that SOCOM chooses to work with. And so we set up the agreements between the companies SOCOM wants to work with and us, which makes them, if you've ever done government contracting before, this makes it a lot more flexible and agile and speedy in terms of getting capability to the warfighter. So our parent company is SOFWERX. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, which makes us a neutral partner for SOCOM and for you guys as solutions providers. Again, we're a neutral nonprofit. We do not choose the companies that SOCOM wants to engage with. Our whole goal is to facilitate engagement and collisions between you as a solutions provider and SOCOM as the one who needs the technology. Our charter is proof of theory, proof of concept, and rapid prototyping. And we will never own any intellectual property or data that is developed by the company. Or anything that's developed jointly between SOCOM and the company. That is a negotiation between and you and SOCOM. But again, we're not in the business of owning any part of your company, taking a cut of any of your profits, or owning your data or IP. Again, our whole goal is to facilitate that engagement between you and SOCOM. Our process really, Mina talked about our webpage. We also have an ecosystem where if you sign up for SOFWERX.org, you will get email notifications of nominations or problems that SOCOM is trying to solve. So our end users within SOCOM, and that could be within the headquarters one of any of the program managers, an individual in a unit or a component, or a theater special operations command. Basically, anybody in SOCOM can reach out to us if they want help trying to solve a problem or a challenge. So they'll bring that topic to us. We'll kind of determine what stage they're in. We will help them develop their problem statements that they'll eventually put out to industry. We will help in terms of doing market research and identifying companies that they may or may not know of that have technology in that space. And then we also want to make sure that SOCOM has funding behind the opportunity before we advertise anything. And we do that because it's got to be a business opportunity for you. We don't want you to waste your time submitting white papers and potential solutions if there's no opportunity for business at the end of this process, because we want to make your engagements with us and SOCOM meaningful and worth your time. So again, we want to understand the problem, figure out where SOCOM is in the process, and ensure that they have funding behind it. So once those three things are identified and we get the green light from SOCOM, we will advertise opportunities for engagement with SOCOM on our webpage. And again, that's an email out to you. It's not a newsletter. You don't have to go hunt and peck for it on a government website. The two types of opportunities that we advertise most often are collaboration events and assessment events. Collaboration events are very appropriate when SOCOM is more in the market research stage and they're trying to inform and define the requirements that they have. They brought us a problem that they're trying to solve. But their engagement with you in terms of their face-to-face, able to tell you the challenges that they're experiencing, the limitations they have with the current equipment or kit or the lack thereof, and then your opportunity to engage with them and share the technology that you are developing and what technology readiness level it's at. It could be pretty early stages, maybe it's a minimum viable prototype, all the way through a commercial off-the-shelf capability that you've employed in the commercial space, but haven't necessarily applied to a military use case. And so we call those collaboration events. Oftentimes it's about 100 or so people in a room, and we set people up into small teams, and we go through some design thinking exercises. And it's very informative, both for the potential solutions providers as well as our government stakeholders. Following a collaboration event, we usually transition to an assessment event, where now you've learned about the problem face-to-face with the stakeholder. And even if you don't attend the collaboration events, you can submit for an assessment event. But basically, that's now the government stakeholders have come up with evaluation criteria for the capability that they're looking for. And you as a solutions provider would submit a white paper through our webpage saying, hey, here's my technology, and here's how we would use it to solve your problem. We'll collect those submissions and we hand them over to our government stakeholders because, again, we're a neutral partner, and our government stakeholders, who are the technical POCs and the end users, are going to make those decisions on the company or companies they would like to work with. So we hand those submissions over to the government stakeholders. They will do some down selects. For example, if we had 100 submissions and they, after doing the review, think there are 10 companies that have high potential to solve the problem, we will then set up follow-on engagements with those companies, one-on-one discussions between the government stakeholders and those companies that they've chosen. Usually it's a tech demo or a briefing. And then after we hold that assessment event, the government stakeholders will pick the company or companies they would like to work with. One thing that's pretty cool about our mechanism is that they can pick more than one company to work with. Some of the problems that SOCOM is trying to solve are very comprehensive, and not one company is best of breed in terms of solving all parts of that problem. And so we can actually have multiple companies integrate their technologies together to be able to solve that problem. And again, we're setting up commercial agreements and research and development agreements. These are not government contracts. So in terms of simplicity and agility, we will have these companies on an agreement in 30 days or less once SOCOM has chosen who they would like to work with. So again, it's a pretty fast timeline from nomination to the first event that we hold is an average of 90 days. If there's a sequence of events, there's usually 45 days in between them. And then again, once SOCOM chooses the companies that they'd like to work with, they will be on an agreement and working within 30 days. Over to the right side of this chart really is more of a SOCOM authority and responsibility. But big picture, once a project is done here, if SOCOM would like to transition to a phase 3 SBIR or a follow-on production contract, they can do that without re-advertising this opportunity on SAM.gov because we did the competition up front. So I just want to kind of outline that. Since 2015, we've done over 280 events. And like I said before, collaboration events are the most common, followed by the assessment events. All of these are described on our webpage if you're curious about the other types of events that we host. Most of the events that we push out are, again, those problem statements are brought to us by end users. But we also like to balance in terms of doing market research and finding transformational technologies to put in front of our government stakeholders, even if they don't have an event published that is relevant to that technology. So we also host a virtual forum every Tuesday. 4 different companies will have the opportunity to pitch their technology. So it's a 15-minute pitch, and it's followed by a 10-minute question and answer session from a government-only audience. Again, very protective of your IP. So you would be pitching to a government-only audience, which consists of SOCOM. More often than not, we have other services and other agencies dialing in to listen to your pitch as well. This is not like Shark Tank where you'll get awarded funding after, but it is an opportunity for you to pitch your technology to that government-only audience. The Q&A session is really good in terms of government stakeholders being able to dive a little more deeply into your tech and how it works. And then also you getting feedback in terms of how you might apply that technology to a military use case. So it's a really good back and forth exchange. These are just some examples of projects that we have done over the past couple of years. And I highlight these to show, kind of Mina said already, from submarines to satellites and anywhere in between. We've done a maritime transporter for the dry combat submersible. We've taken commercial off-the-shelf 3D print capabilities and ruggedized them so they're available to use in the field. We do software, hardware, payloads, drones, you name it. SOCOM has brought a lot of challenges for us to help them solve our way. These are just some examples, some events that we have ongoing right now and into the near future. Again, multiple different stakeholders within Special Operations Command that we support. You see the Joint Special Operations University, the Special Reconnaissance folks. Here's advertisements for the Small Business Innovation Research releases. So we have 2 of those live on our webpage now. We're supporting United States Army Special Operations Command. So again, our customers vary widely within the SOCOM enterprise, and so does the technology that they're looking for. This is really just a recap of the SBIR statistics under the legislative pilot program. Again, we've been able to award the agreements in 3 to 4 weeks versus the traditional timeline of 3 to 4 months, and really get to that prototype delivered to the warfighter in under 2 years versus what was previously kind of benchlined in a 4-year time frame. And also very significant is the number of proposals that we receive for every topic put out has more than doubled. The last topic that we put out was 82 submissions. So that's a 4-fold increase of what we've seen before. And I think that kind of set a record.
It was a record.
So it's great. And that really just a lot of great competition, a lot of great technology, and that really ensures that SOCOM is going to find the best technology that's out there. In terms of engagement with industry, right? Just some examples. Obviously, we try and engage with a lot of SBDCs and small businesses, accelerators in the local area and throughout the country. We've also executed a small business boot camp twice in the last year. Our next one will likely be in September. So keep an eye out for that, but really just educating folks on those topics that are relevant to doing business with Department of Defense and Special Operations Command. So, if you're interested in the cybersecurity or, the data rights and intellectual property regulations and laws, or government contracts and requirements, we have a lot of guest speakers that can speak to those areas. Just as a kind of an aside, we do have a manufacturing space on site. So for any company that has an agreement with SOCOM through SOFWERX, and they're trying to develop a prototype, you guys are able to leverage this facility. So we have machining capability, 3D print capability, design and analysis capability. We have 2 permanent folks on staff that work back here. And again, the reason behind it is to get capability to the warfighter as quickly as possible. We have built drones for companies that have had projects with us, 3D printed mounts for sensors or radios to put on UAVs, you name it, we can support it. And again, the cost for that is a materials cost only because the labor is part of our staff. So again, another way to accelerate developing prototypes. We also support an intern program as well as STEM through our PIA. SOCOM funds us to have college age interns. We really focus on juniors and seniors. So if any of you guys have kids that are college age during the school year, we have usually about a dozen interns every semester, mostly from local universities and colleges, because we do pay for a salary, but not room and board. During the summer, we have students from all over the country come as long as they can find a place to stay here in the local area. But it's an in-person internship, about 20 hours during the school year and 30 hours during the summer. But a great way to attract and retain high-value talent, both for SOCOM. We've had some transition to program management roles in SOCOM and also Central Command. A lot of them do transition to jobs within the defense industrial base or, the small non-traditionals that we work with. And even if they don't, they develop a great understanding of working with Department of Defense and have that relationship and understanding going forward. We also support STEM in the local area, really focusing on the schools that don't necessarily have STEM resources. For us, workforce development is really important. Getting kids interested in STEM and other areas at an early age is really important. We focus not only on professional types of careers, but also careers in manufacturing, teaching them how to solder or do electronic circuits, or you can see the flight simulator here. And again, really, these are just foot stoppers as to, what is the advantage of working through SOFWERX and supporting SOCOM. Down the left-hand side, really focused on industry, very easy to access and to engage with end users here at SOCOM. You can walk into this facility, again, it's a commercial internet, so you can plug your computer right in or a thumb drive and provide a briefing and engage with SOCOM stakeholders here on site. Again, we're neutral. We're not going to own any part of your company. That is definitely not our goal. We just want to get capability to the warfighter as quickly as possible. And so for that reason, the fact that we can use commercial agreements, I think is really important. A lot of folks get frustrated with trying to work with DoD because FAR-based contracting can be very difficult. So this allows you an opportunity really to dip your toe in the water to see if you even want to engage with DoD and if your technology is relevant. As a statistic, 82% of our submissions for our events do come from our non-traditional ecosystem. So we do find a lot of companies with great technology that's not, already in the usual suspects, right? Like your DoD primes, like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. And so I do believe the technology that's being developed outside of the primes really pushes the primes to stay on their toes, right? And keep looking forward. And for the warfighter, again, it helps them understand the state of technology and build and inform their requirements as they move along. We can test out technologies very quickly for them. And so they are very assured going forward that they know this technology works once they want to incorporate it into a program of record. So it's a lot of risk reduction for them. And then again, resulting in quick wins. And then my last slide really is just how to engage with SOFWERX. So joining the ecosystem first, you will get those email notifications when we have events go live. You're always welcome to go to the webpage and look both at our current events and our past events just to get an idea of all the capabilities we've supported. If you're a subject matter expert, highly recommend that you participate in the collaboration events and share your knowledge with the government stakeholders. And it's also an opportunity for you to network with the other companies that are participating in that collaboration event. We do see a lot of natural teaming between companies that are at these collaboration events because they realize that they knit their technologies together. Lots of times they have these joint solutions that are pretty incredible. So for innovators, again, participating in the collaboration or assessment events or submitting your technology to Tech Tuesday for the opportunity to pitch in front of a government-only audience. And that's really my briefing. I do want to leave the rest of the time for Q&A, so I'm going to stop sharing here.
Yeah, that's my fault. I took more time.
That's okay.
You guys are fine. Thank you so much. I know it was a ton of information to squeeze into a fairly small amount of time, but I think it was a great intro to a lot of this stuff. So thank you for providing all of that. So we do have quite a few questions that have come in. So we'll kind of start at the beginning. Some of these questions might have been answered, but it might just be a quick reiteration of what you said before. So the first one is, how long does it typically take to hear back from a phase 1 SBIR?
That's a good question. So again, we have multiple pathways. Generally speaking, we do our tech evaluations in timely manner. So it would be about give or take 30 days. But if those are SOFWERX awards, business to business awards, you probably hear within 2 to 3 weeks. Again, on average, some take more than the others. 82 proposals. We actually, I mean, huge accomplishments by the technical evaluation team for that one. They got it within 3 weeks time frame. But some might take longer. Direct to phase 2s, when they're reading through all the feasibility studies, that might take a little bit longer. But that's my timeline. Now with the DSIP evaluation tool, you might get a response from the DSIP directly to you guys.
Awesome. That really is a quick turnaround compared to a lot of others.
Yep.
Okay, so this question is pretty specific about STTRs, but I think it could be relevant to some people. But is it possible to switch the research institution post STTR award if the PI moves to another organization or for non-performance?
For phase 1, we usually don't do, and it really depends on how it's awarded. We usually don't do any modifications, so kind of stuck with it for that phase 1. And if there are some exceptions that might be discussed, but the exceptions are really like exceptions for this in these cases. Any phase 1 STTRs can end up being a phase 2 SBIRs. So it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to stay as an STTR, and that's the rule, that's the law. So it's kind of a case by case, but I haven't seen much of those. Hey, the performer wasn't the academia non-for-profit partner was not performing well, so we wanted to switch. I haven't seen that, but again, case by case.
Got it. Thank you. All right, so let's see. Can we submit the same SBIR to multiple DoD solicitations or only one application per agency?
If it's the same SBIR and you submit it already to, say, the Air Force, because they have an open topic through SOFWERX, which is not their partner intermediary, that's the name of their kind of a system that they have, then and they submit to us because we have either a specific topic or open topic talking about the same thing, they'll just have to say, yeah, I submitted a similar one to the Air Force, and it has to be really similar to do that. So it's kind of up in the volume 1 questionnaire that they have to submit, and we just find out about it because we don't want you to be double dipping into 2 different agencies. And again, that's by law, agencies components in doing the same thing. So just stating it up front, saying, well, this is the differences of why we want to continue working with you, or we can say this has already been done. We can just do a sequential phase 2 through what you've already done in the past.
Great. Thank you. So this question is about the TRL levels. So can a company at TRL 6 consider applying to a phase 1 DoD SBIR, or could the company consider applying to direct to phase 2 in that case?
Yeah, so we just had the Q&A sessions for 3 of the topics this morning, and some companies mentioned, hey, I already have something at a higher TRL for these phase 1s. I would say submit it as a phase 1 because we already have that topic as a phase 1. We've done our market research, but obviously we cannot get to every single company that's in the United States. So now you submit it and you say, and your proposal will show that you're ahead, and that might give you a leverage in your proposal. Again, I've had multiple situations where that happened. Again, it's an exception. And one of them was, they both said that we're ahead. One of them was ahead and they got the SBIR award. The other one was not what it says and was not focused on our requirements. So we could not award to it. So make sure it's focused on our requirement. That's the main thing. Ask questions if you don't know. Follow our virtual Q&A. The script is going to go out fairly soon after it's done.
Great, thank you. So do PIs have to have a PhD to propose?
That's a good question. No, so part of our proposal is that you have to. So the evaluation is really three parts, right? It's technical merit. The second one is your primary investigator and team generally. So you guys submit your resumes and say, here's the main team that's going to be working on it, and those are going to be matching with the cost volume. Your cost proposal, and it's going to say primary investigator, engineer this, scientist this, whatever, right? And we're going to see those resumes. So evaluate those. So it really depends on your experience, your work. It doesn't have to be a PhD. And then finally, it's your commercialization. So if you're looking to only do for SOCOM, then you're doing a monopsony to a monopsony and you're setting yourself up for failure. We want to make sure that you can commercialize this into the commercial market, and for DoD generally, who else in the government can leverage this as well.
Great, thank you. All right, let's see. Are there opportunities for small businesses to engage with SOCOM outside of the SBIR process? And what would that look like?
There's plenty of opportunities to engage with outside of SBIR. SBIR is just a little piece of the pie where you can have all of this. I did mention SOFWERX because SOFWERX, I'm not advertising anything here. We got 18,000 attendees for SOFWERX, but you actually listening from the PEO directly, that's a big deal. And then you can, we have 3 sessions that talks about transition and SBIR, and even listening from other small businesses. So you get to learn a lot from coming in. This is one. I mentioned EngageSoft. Submit your idea, and if it's something relevant, you'll get feedback. Regardless, you get feedback, and the command is working on improving the responsiveness and getting presentations percentages. Tech Tuesday is huge. I mean, if 4 every Tuesday that present, and they present to a good number of knowledgeable SMEs and program offices. Those are the gateways. Technical experimentation is another one that's also on SOCOM.mil, where you get to present your technology, and then there are outside of those as well, from whether it's SOFWERX or any Triad Inspector or whatever it is that's out there that you can go and present your technology. So the gateway is huge. You just have to don't try to jump from the window when you have this big of a gateway to present to SOCOM and show what you have to offer.
I think the SOCOM.mil doing business with SOCOM webpage should give you links to each of those pathways, and then SOFWERX.org.
Perfect. That's really helpful. I think that answers a lot of the questions where they had specific technologies they wanted to know were a fit or not. So, if they're curious about that, is it best for them to do, the Tech Tuesdays and some of that other stuff that you just mentioned to get it out there? Okay. I won't ask the specific technologies that they mentioned here then. All right, so let's see here. With subcontracting, can we subcontract to a non-US resource?
No. Okay, so again, this for many reasons, this is a seed fund. This is America's seed fund. This is actually the title that SBA gave it, America's seed fund. The idea is to grow you as a small business in the United States. If somebody can do it out there, especially for phase 1s, I'm sure somebody can do it in the United States. Keep it in-house, keep it within our country, and let us continue to grow that. If you can manufacture this item in China for 50 cents and in the US for $50, we rather pay the extra whatever, $49.50 for you to manufacture it here. I'm making up an example here, because again, this is growing our manufacturing here in the US. So let's, the idea is to do as much as you can within the US. Also, if you have to do anything outside the country, because there's only one company in Italy that can do this, then we have to get some waivers, and those waivers are not easy to obtain. I've done the process once, but I always go back and say, I'm the first gateway here, and I say, no, you can find somebody here in the US that can do it.
For SOFWERX, we can work with companies that don't reside in the United States, but they do have to have a US-based office.
Great. So this question is about reaching out to TPOCs. And so is it best to contact them directly? Should they submit them? Should they submit questions on DSIP? What's the best way to submit particular questions about solicitations?
Right, so if you look in our instructions, you'll find that the contact info for the TPOC is sbir@socom.mil. That's my email, right, or my team's email. And because we coordinate that with the technical POC, don't try to reach out to the PM directly. You'll kind of jeopardize the full and open competition of it. I would say do through the SITIS, the Q&A session, because it needs to be presented there. And that's the only way we provide for it. If you have the opportunity for Q&A session, attend, that will be the best way to reach out to include all of us, to reach out to the TPOC directly and for all of us to answer together. But that also gets listed and published to the DSIP website.
Great, thank you. So I think we have time for one more question, and sorry if we didn't get to all of yours, but this is kind of a question for both of you. So it is, let's see, now I have to find it. Do all opportunities with SOCOM come through SOFWERX? Will there be redundant opportunities, so to speak, between the two sites?
Not all of the opportunities come through us. We get probably a small handful, which SOCOM thinks is appropriate to kind of push out to small non-traditional businesses, right? So you might see some redundancy on a web page, like for SOCOM, saying these are the capabilities that we're looking for and something that we're advertising in terms of deconfliction to what is put on sam.gov, like in terms of the larger RFPs for VAR-based contracts. I think you would probably see capabilities through our mechanism that would be incorporated into existing programs of record or something that would add on to that, not necessarily something completely new.
Yeah, so absolutely true. I mean, there's a lot of work in SOCOM, and that gets spread out. I think sam.gov is a great way of finding out what SOCOM has to offer. And I believe so LinkedIn also is a good tool, because many of like our acquisition executive, for example, he always posts, hey, we're doing this for maritime, we're doing this for SoftWarrior, we're doing this for soft digital application, and he just posts out, we got an RFP out. So then you jump in and look for those. So I definitely recommend going into the social media parts of LinkedIn for SOCOM and seeing what's being said in regards to RFPs out.
As an example, so SOCOM has broadcast capability in terms of information support operations, right? Or information operations. They have a current program of record, but they do have a capability that they're looking for that the larger companies are no longer investing in. So radio broadcast, et cetera. So they're leveraging us so we can reach out to the small non-traditional businesses that are still in that space to find those capabilities for the warfighter. Just an example.
Great, thank you. So we're about up on time here. I just want to say we will send out a follow-up email with a lot of the links that you saw today. You'll get a copy of the slides as well as the recording of today's session. Thank you so much, Leslie and Mina. Do you want to have any closing thoughts here that you want to share with anyone?
Real quick, I saw a bunch of questions in terms of what kind of capabilities. Yes, SOCOM is looking for soft peculiar capabilities. So if you have something that is more relevant to a service, you should probably pursue that pathway. But I think there's a lot of opportunities to engage with SOCOM, both through the SOFWERX mechanism and the other ways of doing business. So I just encourage you, if you even think that your technology is relevant, please reach out to us, request to attend an event or submit your technology for Tech Tuesday, because we'd love to see it.
Yeah, so again, one question here kind of hit hard, and it's important, if you don't mind me kind of throwing it in, but 15-slide presentation is required because we do an optional. If we have 6 companies and we want to down select to 3 or 4, we do an optional kind of a 1-hour presentation where they get to pitch it to us. And if we don't have the 15 presentation slide, we can't do that. So even if you qualify, so we consider it non-responsive. And then the open topic, we just do a quad chart. You just tell us what you can do in that quad chart based on the what do you call it, the solicitation, and we go by that. So we don't really need the the 1 hour presentation. But all in all, thank you for having us. I'm hoping this helps all you guys, small businesses. If you have any further questions, SBIR@SOCOM.mil is a great way of reaching me, reaching my team as well. And you know, go to SOCOM.mil. It's easy to use. There are a lot of different opportunities to go in there if you keep, you know, going down that list. And if you can by any means come to Soft Week, please do so. Would love to see you there. We'll have a whole lot of DoD components coming in for SBIR that you might want to talk with them as well. It's a big budget per annual, big annual budget.
And if you want to come visit SOFWERX, there's a link on our webpage. Just request a tour and a briefing. We'd happy to see you here.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. So much great information, so many great resources. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jamie.